Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It's Rusher and welcome back to another Pixel Strike 3D video. And in today's video, I will be doing the top 10 primary weapons in this game. Not all guns, not amongst all guns. I mean the primary. So I'll be getting the secondaries and stuff and all that, but for now I'm doing the primary weapons. Now, I've been playing Pixel Strike for the last 2 days for extended periods of time, trying to figure out and trying to find the best guns in the game. And this is what I could find, basically. Now, I will admit, some of this is based on opinion, but others I actually did get some stats, put them all together, and compared them with others to see which guns were worthy of being on this list, essentially. So, this is what I got. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. And the main reason why I'm doing this is because some people may want to, like, you know, find new weapons to use, or there are some people that want to know which weapons are the best weapons in the game, essentially. Or if you're like a filthy casual like me, you're just trying to find something that you like want to try out for the first time and have fun with, essentially, because you use pretty much every single other damn weapon in this game except for that one weapon, you know. But anyways, regardless, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10 is a weapon that I know most people know about because this is one of the earlier weapons. This one right here is the battle rifle. Now, the battle rifle is actually a really fun weapon to run around with. I recommend you do go try it out if you haven't. Honestly, who hasn't used the battle rifle? The battle rifle is actually pretty fun to run around with. And it's a great starter along with the other 3 guns that you start with, although you gotta buy it. The battle rifle does 16 damage, has a range of 70, fire rate of 9.1, and recoil of 5. Now, the battle rifle is a great starter. It's a great weapon to start with if you just got the game or something like that, because of its high fire rate. Damage output, it kind of sucks in comparison to another weapon on this list that's actually right after this one, but the damage isn't that much to worry about when you got 9.1 bullets firing in a second, you know? So it's not that big a deal. What I will say about this weapon is that it cuts through ammo really fast because of its high fire rate, but other than that, it's not too much of a bad thing, you know? It's not too much of a bad trait. It actually helps this weapon in some cases, and I honestly think the battle rifle earned its spot on the list for being a useful weapon at an early level, basically. With that being said, coming in at the number 9 spot, this one might surprise you guys. This is actually going to be the AR-60. Now, the AR-60 is basically, well, you think about it, it's basically the Special Forces rifle, but upgraded. Now, you guys might be wondering, how the hell is this higher than the battle rifle on the list? Well, think about it. It does more damage, it has a more steady fire rate, so you can control it better. Plus, unlike the battle rifle, this thing's iron sights are actually really clean. Not saying the battle rifle's iron sights are not good. I'm just saying the AR-60s are much more clean and on fleek, essentially. And, well, it's more easy to get used to. I mean, with a steady fire rate, high damage output, well, higher than a battle rifle anyway, it's more easier to get used to, especially since you got those clean iron sights. I mean, you won't be needing an optic for a while until you decide to buy one, of course. But yeah. Now, coming in at the number 8 spot, now this was going to surprise a lot of you, because in comparison to some of the other guns on this list, this one doesn't seem that good. But when you pick this up, you're going to have a lot of fun with. This is actually the water gun, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the water gun, although it doesn't have that much range or fire rate at all, this thing does a lot of damage for what it is. So, you know, you could drop in like 3-4 hits with this water gun because it does 40 damage. Plus, unlike most of the other weapons in this game, well, actually all of them, this thing can hit more than one target, and it can go through walls too. So, really, you're looking at a prototype PSR that kind of sucks compared to the prototype PSR, but it's actually really fun to run around with when you get used to it. It's got a unique gimmick of shooting the ground to kill people, going through walls to kill people, and even killing multiple enemies at once. It's got a really fun gimmick. And this is actually one of the more funner weapons in the game in comparison to some of the other guns in this game, actually. So if you haven't tried out the water gun, I recommend you do give this thing a try, because this thing is really fun to run around with. And yeah, that's why it's at number 8, guys. It's really fun to run around with, and I recommend you do try it out. But anyways, coming in at the number 7 spot, now some of you guys might disagree with this one, but I personally think it earned the spot. This right here would have to be the Army Rifle. Now, the Army Rifle, when you think about it, it's basically the AR-60 but with a built-in scope and, well, you know, less ammo, the same range, higher fire rate. Now, the armor rifle, what I really do like about the armor rifle is that it has a built-in scope, which some people don't like, but what can you really do about it? I mean, it has a built-in scope, so what? It's not that big of an issue. I mean, you don't see too many people running around with this thing, so at least be grateful for that. Now, this thing's got low recoil, just like the AR-60, just like the battle rifle. It's got a higher fire rate than the AR-60. It's got the same range as the AR-60, and it does more damage than those two weapons, actually. Now, when you really think about it, this weapon is actually really fun to use. I mean, it's got low recoil. It's got good damage output, 5-hit kill damage output. It's got a decent fire rate, good range, built-in scope. I mean, what's not to like about this weapon if you're using it, you know? Making its way into the number 6 spot on this list would actually have to be a weapon that is pretty damn old, and everyone pretty much knows, well, if you were in the 3.2 era at that time. This right here is the TMP. Now, the TMP, people used to hate this weapon because it used to be meta. I mean, there was a time where it had 60 range, right? But yeah, it only has 30 range now. It still does the same amount of damage it always did, so 30. It has 7.7 seconds of fire rate, and it has 9 recoil. Now, when you factor all those in, it's not that big of an issue considering this is an SMG. You're going to use this thing at close range anyway. And when you do use this thing when it's intended to use, well, at close range, duh, this thing puts in work. Now, this thing will shred people like no tomorrow. This thing is actually really fun to run around with. Well, all the SMGs are, to be honest with you. But this TMP is one of the more funner SMGs to run around with. Because, I mean, of course, it's one of those weapons where it's more of a challenge to use, essentially. And even so, it does really good damage, and it could drop people fast enough if you're skilled enough with it. So yeah, there's the TMP, number 6 on this list. Now, coming in at number 5 is basically what would happen if you took the TMP, lowered its range, but floored it with the fire rate and gave it less recoil, essentially. This right here is the MP5K. Now, the MP5K, honestly, this thing has to be one of the best SMGs in the game. I mean, it's got low recoil for an SMG. I mean, it sacrifices range for less recoil. Although it doesn't really make any sense how it have that much recoil with 10 seconds. Okay, well, not 10 seconds, but 10 bullets a second fire rate right there. Which kind of seems a bit odd to me, but what can you do about it? It's a video game. Not everything's going to make sense. And the MP5K is also a great starting point to, like, if you're not going to use the Special Forces rifle with the Marksman. The MP5K is a great starter's weapon just because of how fast it drops people at close range. So if you're more of a close quarters guy, then I suggest you take this thing out for a spin if you can, because this is one of the weapons that you start with. So there's that. MP5K is number 5 on the list for those reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, coming in at the number 4 spot. Now, this I believe to be probably the best assault rifle in the game. And when I say assault rifle, I mean like literal assault rifle. Now, this would have to go to the heavy rifle. Why? Because, I mean, look at this thing. The heavy rifle is an amazing weapon to use. My god, I mean, if I had to, like, think of any other weapon, I couldn't. Because, I mean, when you tell me assault rifle, what my favorite assault rifle in this game is, it'd probably be the heavy rifle, man. I mean, yeah, there's others like the AK-49 and the freaking AR-60 and all that other stuff. But the heavy rifle just outshines them all due to it being, you know, really high in damage output, essentially. I mean, it does 28 damage, it used to do 30. It has 60 meters of range. I mean, it doesn't have that good fire rate. I mean, its fire rate is pretty steady for what it is, so it's not too bad. But one problem is that its recoil is too high for what it is, you know? Which is why, you know, you want to put like stuff like foregrip and muzzle brake and, you know, reflex on it, or red dot for those of you. And when you put all those on it, this thing actually really kills. This thing will really zoom in on your opponent. It will really drop people. One thing I do not like about this weapon is how its iron sights and its muzzle flash are. Because its iron sights kind of suck, and its muzzle flash doesn't really help at all. If anything, it just makes things harder to use it. So when you put muzzle flash, okay, muzzle brake, and like reflex on this thing will do wonders for you, and that's why I think this thing earned its number 4 spot on the list. to be honest with you. Now, coming in at the number 3 spot, ladies and gentlemen, this is probably what I consider the best SMG in the game. This right here has to be the MP40. Now, the MP40, ladies and gentlemen, this thing actually is really, really damn good. It's a really damn good weapon. It's fun to run around with. I mean, I've heard people saying it was OP, but they said the same stuff about the P90, and the P90 was pretty much, it was pretty worse than the MP40. You saw the P90 a hell of a lot more than you would the MP40. And even so, I don't see the MP40 too much, so it's not really anything to complain about in comparison to the P90 that people still use. But yeah, with its steady damage, I mean, it's got the same damage and fire rate as the MP5K, but it's got more range. I mean, 20 meters more range. I mean, the MP5K has 25. This thing has 45 meters of range, so you're going to be able to shoot from farther, a bit farther with this thing. It's got more recoil, though, so there's one thing to worry about this weapon. But honestly, when I use this weapon, I've had so much fun using this weapon. I mean, I'm a fan of close-range weapons like SMGs and stuff, and the shotguns. Hence why I run around with the water gun, because I like running around with those types of weapons. I've had the most fun using those. But yeah, when you run around with this thing and you rush with this thing, you could have so much fun with this weapon. I mean, if you haven't tried this weapon already, I recommend you do give it a shot, because this weapon is fun to use and it gets the job done. And it's not that OP when you really think about it, in comparison to some of the other weapons on this list anyway. Now, coming in at number 2 is a weapon where if you say it's bad or it sucks or it shouldn't be on this list, you probably haven't used this thing most likely. This right here has to go to the Frozen Sniper. Now, the Frozen Sniper is honestly just as good as like any other sniper in the game. I mean, it may be highly unlikely because the Marksman Rifle exists. I mean, people run around with that and it's more practical to access. But hear me out. The Frozen Sniper is actually really damn good. I mean, it's got steady recoil, right? I mean, it doesn't kick up like a freaking mule like the other 2 snipers. It drops in like 3 hits or 2, so it's basically the Barry 50 cal that does a bit less damage, but it's more easier to use because it doesn't kick up like a freaking mule, you know? So, like, when you think about it, the Frozen Sniper with its 30 damage, it's 125 meters in range, and making it the lowest range of all the snipers, which isn't too bad. 3.3 seconds of fire rate and low as hell recoil in comparison to the other snipers. This thing would have to be the best sniper in the game. I mean, I know some people won't agree because, I mean, there's the Marksman Rifle, which insta-kills if you get headshots. But that's only if you get headshots and you're more frequent with getting headshots. You get consistent headshots all the time. With the Frozen Sniper, you can literally just aim down sight and literally just floor it with the fire button. And the only thing you have to worry about is being accurate and just hitting your target, period. Because at least if you miss with a Frozen Sniper, you can just shoot immediately. Because this thing shoots like 3 bullets a second. With the Marksman, you're going to be left a bit open, so that's why I put the Frozen Sniper in comparison to the Marksman and the 50 cal. Some of you guys may not agree with the Frozen Sniper being better than the Barrett 50 cal and the Marksman Rifle. Hell, some of you guys might not agree with it being on the list, but to me, this thing deserves a spot on the list because compared to the other 2 snipers, this thing is honestly, it'll honestly benefit you more if you use this thing. Trust me. Give it a whirl if you have to. Trust me, this thing is actually a wonder to use. And finally, coming in at number 1 is a weapon that most people either hate or love. There's literally an in-between with this weapon. Now, at the beginning of this video, if you guessed the Elite Rifle was going to be at the top of the list, give yourself a pat on the back because it's exactly what it is. The Elite Rifle cracked number 1 on this list, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to tell you why. Now, some of you guys may disagree with this, but I mean, it's both in my opinion and with like gathered stats and information that I could find about these weapons. Now, this thing being a semi-auto rifle, this thing's got a lot of range on it. It's got a high fire rate. Its recoil is a bit higher than some of the other assault rifles, like, you know, the army rifle and stuff. But it does like 35 damage, right? So it's like a 3-hit kill from like 70 meters of range. That is actually really good. Really, really good. And I mean, it gets even worse when you play it with claw. Now, this is me playing without claw. Look at how efficient I'm dropping these guys. This is me without claw. Can you imagine a dude who actually mains this thing running around with claw? This would probably be the best weapon in the game in that regard. I mean, which is why some people wanted the Elite Rifle nerfed, because of how efficient people with claw use it, you know? But yeah, the Elite Rifle is number 1 on this list, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what exactly do you think should have cracked the top 10 on this list? I mean, did you have a different list? Do you agree with this one? Feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to take a look at your comments, check out your opinions. I mean, this is all my opinion, so I'd like to hear your opinion on the whole situation. But anyways, guys, this has been the top 10 primary weapons in this game. I will get to the secondaries and the melees in due time. If you like the commentary, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the like, subscribe button. Also, do not forget to check out my other videos. Oh my gosh, I keep messing up that line. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. It's your boy Rusher. I'm out of here. Peace.